so then somebody will mail these back to them.
Oh, yeah, the town,
That's fine.
yeah,
Okay.
administration.
So this helps to take the load off of Sharon.
Yeah, the bank requirement is 2 signatures, so we just gotta give
Oh,
our,
okay, all right.
our
We learn
approval.
something new every day.
So with that,
Do we need
Yeah,
to?
you got to wait till we finish. Okay, and I'm signing here.
Those two are done.
All right, and I'm gonna flip this down. I like this kind of stuff. 125.
and it's always a good thing because you get a chance to see how things are happening.
Right. And so they have like 30 days to get their refund back. Or no, they're like, what, 30 days to get their refund back.
That one was made out to me for $250,000, just sign that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's Katrina, this is my cousin, the Hart store. Her mom just died. Yeah, her mom, Linda Hart.
Condolences.
Town so small. Everybody's some everybody.
Sorry for,
Yeah, she
your
just buried
cousin,
her
that was an aunt of yours?
So my cousin Linda adopted her and her 5 brothers and sisters.
Oh.
Right here.
Okay.
We're ready.
We're about done.
I'm done.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's how.
You got your 3 done, or 4 done? 4, okay.
You know I come from a massive family.
Okay.
Wow. 74, going back to work.
Ready for the budget.
Okay. Shut your mouth.
Mister.
Okay. Now, one more. Let me do it. Then just get it out of the way. Then we'll be done, all right? I hate to start something, don't finish it, you know.
So we had one that was already at the dais, and this is a second.
That's
So the
what we
same?
had last week, that's your copy.
Oh, this one is, okay. Okay, the date is?
There you go.
Okay. All right, and we'll get these and then we'll get going. Okay, we're all set and ready. So at this time, we're going to call the Town of Magonia Park Utility Fund Budget Workshop of July 2nd, 2024 in the session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Oliver.
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Davis Quinn.
Here.
Thank you so much. At this time, we turn the floor over to our town manager.
Mayor,
Back
Vice
up.
Mayor, and Councilmember Davis Quince, thank you for your time. This is going to be brief, but it is very important. We've got some critical things to discuss tonight. I wish everyone could have been here tonight because this is a kind of a heavy conversation. But what I had to do right off the bat, and thank you to Sherry who did some last minute work, and we did have Alexi and also Rob, our bookkeeper in training. They were hard at work today too, getting all this prepared. Last week, we passed out a document that looks like this. It's the water and wastewater's utilities, fees, and charges. We passed out a version of that. And in my one-on-one with the mayor on Friday, we discussed a couple of things. Felt like it might be a good idea to, I'll just say it like this, to give you a real feel. So we came back, we've adjusted some things to what the potential could be in regard to some of these fees. And in particular, on the wastewater side or the sewage side, I just want to draw your attention to a couple of things. I would expect some questions, and certainly we won't get everything determined tonight, but this is something we need to nail down pretty soon. So we've got tonight. We will be back next Tuesday for a workshop. Hopefully we can get a little bit closer on what we need to do here. On the first page, it actually says at the bottom, page 3 of 11, says that because this is part of a resolution. But down at the bottom, number 4, just going to draw your attention to that. If we were looking at a situation of that is quite a difference and this is on the residential side, okay? And for the sake of tonight, residential, multifamily, and commercial show the same rate on the usage part. We talked about the base rate a little bit last week, but on the usage part, just to start the conversation, we're starting everyone at the same. I know council, my one-on-one today with one of our council members, it was suggested that we go back to a tier system like we have this current year and adjust it between residential, multifamily, and commercial. So at any rate, that number there at the bottom, that's going to be the number throughout. And if anyone has any questions at this point, I'll be happy to answer. And this is the potential of what we could be looking at as of October 1st. From where we were last week, we didn't do anything with the water part of it. You may decide that we might have to. You may decide to leave that part of it alone. But looking at all the base rates, we left that alone from last week. So everything in red throughout this indicates where we're at and what we're recommending at this point.
Okay. Yeah, questions or comments? Yes, Ken stated, just as you're looking, he and I met on Friday, I think it was, and we went over, so I'm familiar with the what's here. But just for the record, as they're reviewing, Ken, as you stated, so what's in red are the new information from the previous meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
And that is quite a bit different than what we were talking about last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alrighty, and of course, as it relates to line 36, account 435, line 35. Of course, what we're going to be doing is making sure, as we do all the time, when there's an increase, that we get information out to the residents. Once we get the firm numbers, we'll get that information out ahead of time to the residents so that they'll know. In addition to that, also just encourage, some water conservation. If you don't need to turn on the faucet, don't turn it on, because every drop you use goes into the sewer, and we get charged for it, so.
That is correct. And certainly on any of these rates, we're going to be open to any suggestions. I would encourage that. This could be quite a bit different than what folks are looking at right now. So.
Yeah. Just as the other two council persons are reading, line 25, we have the increase. We're not quite through the budget year. That 114% that we've expended so far, is that representative of the new meters in large part, or in small measure, or?
That is, and Sherry can correct me, a lot of that is part of the chemicals. The prices have increased, so a good bit of that would be wrapped up in that. And yes, that's on the expenditure side.
Okay. Anything else, Ken, as they're reviewing it? And if we have any other questions,
Yeah.
we can do it offline.
Yes, sir. So on the spreadsheet, just to give everyone an idea, looking at line number 9, I'm sorry, my apologies, line number 8, it says sewer. If you incorporate these new rates, you could be looking at that number, and then that's the revenue. And if you flip that to the expenditure side, that would be line 36. That's what we potentially could be paying out versus what we're bringing in. The difference in that would be the base rates that we're collecting every month. So this is significant. I think everybody understands for what we pay out in utilities, we have to bring in somehow. But so the most basic way to do that is through your utility billing. So I just wanted to point that out, those two things in particular. And one thing, I think, I know we're absent a couple of people tonight, but as soon as we can nail this down, line 54, that $15,000 in red, that represents the utility share of the fee for the lobbyist. And we had some dialogue last week about the lobbyist, and the current situation in Tallahassee right now is not very conducive to us getting much state funding. So that did come up, and I'll just be open to any questions you might have or any comments you may have on that. That's the only other thing, and hopefully we can nail that down pretty soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Righty. Righty, so we have no questions or comments at this time. Any other pertinent information, or just those changes since the last meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. This is the main changes since last week.
Okay.
My,
All righty.
well, my only comment was to Ken earlier, if we can find a way to not raise the price on residents and raise it on the businesses, that way the residents don't feel it. They won't feel it if we just raise it on business owners, because business owners, have a lot of consumers. They bring in more money than most people on fixed incomes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the only thing there, and Ken, correct me if I misstated, is that, for instance, to your point, and yes, we wish that there were some mechanism in place, but at line 8 that we were speaking of right now, for us, there's one main meter, right? So at the canal, so when they read it, they look at the amount of usage from the town, right? So it's not segregated by residential and business, so we don't have a mechanism to separate it. So, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
And to your point, though, and that's a good point, to your point, we do currently have different
Rates.
levels in fees for what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's actually by way of pipe size, 1 inch, 3/4, and all of that.
Right.
Right. So you'll see the differences there. So the businesses do pay more than
Right.
residential. So.
And yes, so my whole point is, I know they pay more already, but they can afford more than a resident most of the time. If you raise them up more, then you raise up your residents.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, I didn't put it in red, but draw your attention to line 32. And in our one-on-ones, we've had some discussion about that. And, could be one or the other. Could be the increased fees or line 32. But that's something that's in there now. If council wanted to leave that in, we could, or take it out. That's something we would need to discuss a little bit further, one-on-one and as we move forward.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I do have a question on line number 13, penalty income.
Mhm.
I'm
Yes.
seeing that 189% paid. Please explain that.
Right, so what we budgeted in that revenue line item was 7,500, and we've actually brought in, unfortunately, 14,190. I say unfortunately, that's people that have late fees or disconnect fees, those kind of things. So that's what that is. So the 189%, we've just,
You have already recouped that.
and probably, as you see, moving forward, we'll probably leave the number the same as we did this year, just to stay somewhat conservative.
But then also on the line 37, repairs, maintenance.
Ah, yes, correct. So that was your sewer situation back in April, part of May, I guess. A large chunk of that is related to that, where we did, we're still paying invoices from that. You remember, we had to call a pump truck on a daily basis, and that would have been anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 every day that we had to call them. And they were pretty much called every day throughout April. So,
What about the potential of that occurring again?
what's that?
Occurring again, what about the potential of another part of town? We have a similar concern.
That with the age of our pipes, certainly,
Because I'm wondering,
but we can't predict where it's at, but there's potential.
maybe the.
I don't think we'll have, I shouldn't say this, but I don't think we'll have quite that situation again.
I see the budgetary increases just for the 3,000, 35,000 previously budgeted to proposed.
Mhm.
You think that's significant enough, seeing how far we went over?
Well, based on probably the last 2, 3, 4 years, that's probably in line with that.
I mean,
I
not
don't-
that I want us to have to spend that
Right.
money, but, just to make sure we have the budgetary allowances.
I would be hesitant to budget that kind of money.
Okay.
'Cause I think this is just such a, I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but,
We could hope that it is.
I mean, certainly, we don't mind bumping that number up.
Yeah, I think
That's-
maybe some consideration on that, just to make sure we're budgetary covered. Maybe another 5,000.
Righty. A suggestion, Vice Mayor, would be that if we didn't feel that line or a particular line item, we're not, you feel that we're under budgeting, then recommendation would be that if indeed the body, the council decided, let's do, we need to budget a little bit more per line item, let's just put it in contingency.
I
That
was
way we're
thinking
not
you might
restricted
say that.
to the use of it.
Okay.
Ms. Ken, what is line 16? Can you tell me what that is?
Line 16?
Yes.
Okay, so if we, on occasion, and I'm going to use the example of our ARPA money,
Mhm.
that ARPA money came in to the general fund. It came in, that was I guess, Sherry, would you call that a wire transfer or something from the state that came in, went directly into our general fund? And, we've discussed using quite a bit of money from our ARPA money for utilities, so that would be a transfer. And we're not going to do $1 million at a time, but we'll probably do in increments. So that would help support utility projects by way of the general fund, which is where the money came into.
Thank you. I think I asked about that last time. Thank you so much.
And anytime you have to transfer money, sometimes Sherry has to transfer money between funds to balance out insurance payments and that kind of thing.
Or just standard payroll.
Okay, other comments or questions?
Yeah.
Okay. And if there are none at this time, of course, we'll have an opportunity to go through it. And then if you have any questions or comments, just get with Ken, and we can massage it, because it's a working document, so. Okay. Ready?
We don't have anything budgeted for education and travel. Number, line 71, Mr. Ken, we don't have anything budgeted for line 71.
Line 71,
Correct.
I think we folded that into another line item, I think last year or year before. Where did it go?
yeah, I think most of that is in line 29.
Okay, that's a low budget. Okay.
Now, are these going to be just empty blanks on the budget? Because I see line 56 has travel with nothing on it as well.
Correct. All that's been condensed into the education line item.
Okay.
Can you repeat what the question is? I didn't quite hear it.
So the first question was line 71 on page 2, questioning why there wasn't anything in there. And the second question was line 56 on page 1. Same question, nothing in those line items. And the answer to both was it'd been condensed into line 29.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
No, I just wanted to make sure they understood why, because the drinking water is what requires the most of your licensing. So one of our employees is going to be pursuing the drinking water. Your director and your crew leader, even though there's no one to crew chief, they're already licensed in water distribution and sewer from where they both came from. And even though they have to get CEUs, it's never a part where they're actually going and getting the training and then sitting for the test. They're pretty much done with that in sewer and water distribution. And it wouldn't come out of 536. That's just your water plant expense. The sewer and the water is specific to the actual license, the 533 account and the 535 account. But we're lucky in that the two people that are your top people for the water plant already have all of that. So all they have to do is maybe pay a $25 renewal maybe, but it's your new people that are coming in. Then your drinking water operators are coming from 2 other cities, or just one? One
We've
or
had 'em
2
from
other
both,
cities?
Yeah.
The lead plant operator and the other 2 drinking water operators. So wherever they're working full-time has to pay for that. I just wanted
That's
to know
right.
that.
Good point.
Okay.
I guess I did have another mark on line 64 with printing. It looks like we went a bit over budget paying for printing.
Right, so I would say, and Sherry can correct me, but I think I'm safe in saying this. I think we could be under budget on that, or under budgeted maybe on that.
Which line item?
64,
Okay. Printing.
but more than likely, because we've been without a bookkeeper for most of the year, a lot of these things are miscoded and maybe should have been in a different line item. I'll clarify that for you for the next meeting. And if we've under budgeted there, we'll correct that,
More than likely, it's related to the postage.
most likely.
Maybe some postage went into the printing for the utility.
Yeah, the postage is 55%.
The
The budget, yeah.
miscoded, I
I could see that. Okay.
like a certified mail return receipt. Or it could be the bills,
Yeah.
some, the utility postcards or whatever,
Okay,
or deposit slips.
all righty. Okay, anything else from staff?
No, sir.
Okay, any other questions from council?
Not that I could see at the moment.
Okay, all righty, and we do have it, and we have some information new here tonight, and again, as you go through it, any questions, just feel free to reach out to administration, town manager, and then we'll massage it, and at the next budget, if there's any questions or comments or clarification, we can address it at that time. That being said, if there's nothing else, motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, has been properly moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is carried. Thanks so much, Ken. We appreciate it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Mm.
Okay. So we get this.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
All right, and we keep this one as a mock-up.
Mhm.